Всем привет. Мы переходим к финальному докладу. Это, скажем так, некоторая экспериментальная вещь, которая, мы надеемся, станет более стандартной для конференции в России. Мы бы хотели дать слово нашему партнеру, компании Elastic. Но так как коллеги из Elastic в основном живут в Америке и в Европе, и у них достаточно большой тайм-лаг, тайм-дифференс между Америкой и Россией, то мы решили записать этот доклад. Но, несмотря на то, что мы его записываем, коллеги, архитекторы компании Elastic и другие наши собственные разработчики этого сервиса будут отвечать на ваши вопросы. И мы после записанного доклада постараемся на те вопросы, которые вы нам пришлете в трансляцию, ответить. Поэтому, посмотрите, пожалуйста. И я бы хотел представить доклад Майка Николса, продуктового менеджера, директора по продукту security компании Elastic, который расскажет про roadmap Elastic и про то, что изменилось за последние 5 версий с 7.10 до 7.14.
Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to join you online in Yandex Scale, the annual Yandex Cloud Conference in Russia. My name is Майк Николс. I'm the product lead and the senior director of the Elastic security team, which is one of the solutions inside of Elastic. You probably see here on the protect part, that's the part I'm responsible for. We have a bunch of great new features and capabilities in Elastic that I'm going to get to in further slides today. And also I'll be talking about why Yandex Cloud is the best place to get that managed experience for Elastic. So first, why Elasticsearch? Why a search company in general? And one of the core challenges is that content is becoming harder and harder to find every day. You probably deal with this right now, right? Almost every organization has all this internal data. Content is scattered everywhere across the environment. Customers and prospects are trying to find the answers to the questions. They're on your website, they're in your application, trying to find the answer to what they're looking for. And if you can't give it to them, if you take too long, or if you provide non-relevant results, well, guess what? They move on. And moving on means they go to your competitors. In addition, enterprise IT is becoming more and more complex. We have a massive shift to cloud with more resourcing hitting the cloud infrastructure. There's container-based applications, microservice architectures, cloud-native deployments, and infrastructure as code. All this rising complexity. And your customers' expectations are also rising along with it. It's critical and it's challenging for these IT departments to find and respond to issues faster than ever before. And finally, the part that I think about a lot, cyber threats. Cyber threats are becoming more sophisticated and more prevalent. As IT becomes more and more hybrid across public and private and hybrid environments, protecting this threat gets even more complex than ever. You probably have today employees that work at home. They're working from coffee shops or maybe in an airplane. How do you protect the users wherever they might be in your organization? What many people fail to realize is that these three core challenges are actually connected. In fact, underneath the surface of each of these core challenges I talked about is content. All the applications, your IT infrastructure, the monitoring solutions, endpoint detection systems, your SIMs, everything is part of your digital ecosystem. And that link between each one of these things is data. That common denominator that ties all these problems together is data. And how do you solve for data? I mean, you do it every day. You wake up, you have a question, where do you go? The search bar. You go to the search bar and type in what you're looking for because search is the most intuitive way to find an answer. Think about going online. You want to find a pair of shoes? Okay, what are you looking for? Red, running, shoes, I don't know, what's nearby, right? And what results come back are the ones that are relevant to you, the ones that matter to your response. They'll even tell you if your local supplier down the street has those shoes in stock. Those search results are relevant to what you're looking for. How about if you're the IT team and a service or application goes down? You're the site reliability engineer and you're trying to troubleshoot this problem. You want to find that end-to-end challenge. You want to find the root cause analysis of what happened. Well, search is uniquely capable to help you find that problem, searching through the metrics, the traces, the logs to identify what happened and how you can fix it with unprecedented speed. And what about being in the security operations team? I sat there before myself, and I know I was presented with a massive amount of information in many different systems. And my challenge was uncovering that core narrative, right? Trying to figure out when the vulnerability happened, how did it happen? Where did it go? What did it do so that I can clean that thing up, right? Finding those indicators of compromise that were going against the organization's data. And all that has to go back more than just a few days of data or even weeks. It has to go back over months or even years of information to provide assurance on whether or not this attack ever happened before in the organization. So your ability to mine through that data at massive scale is critical. And it's not just search that solves this, not just the search bar. What we need is actually a platform that powers all these search capabilities. While search itself is able to provide you with relevant results at its speed, at its scale, you can't tie the dots together. You can't build the narrative of what happened without a platform. That platform unites and unifies your data into one place. It breaks down the silos between these different pieces of information. So you're not looking at 5 or 6 different products. You're in one place where this data lives to figure out what happened and how you can possibly fix that. It unites the people, the processes, and the teams of your organization. So no surprise, I'm here to talk about the Elasticsearch Platform, a platform that unifies enterprise search, observability, and security for you. And I'm really happy this year because Yandex Cloud has become our partner, and our users can now get the unique offering provided in their managed service. Yandex Cloud is our first official Elastic partner in Russia, and they provide all the power and responsibilities that managed layer offers. Super high deployment speed, high SLAs, and the latest versions and features that we're going to talk about today already available in their managed service. So what's available? What are we offering? That's a good question. Let's start with search, right? So search's unique ability to surface those relevant results, right? I go to an application, I go to the e-commerce website to find what I need. How do I do that, right? Well, with Elastic for Enterprise Search, we built this solution directly into the Elasticsearch Platform. Elastic for Enterprise Search enables your customers to search for anything, anywhere. It bridges that gap between search experiences that companies are currently delivering and what customers have to expect, right? Customers want you to provide what they need now. It makes it possible to make this enterprise-grade modern search experience only using a fraction of the resources that might be required if you were to build this thing from scratch. And you're going to see a theme emerge. As I go through each one of these slides, I'm going to talk about the different releases we've had recently, and you're going to see a ton of power packed into each one. And I want you to take away 2 key things. First is, we have a saying in Elastic that every minor is a major. And what we mean is each of our minor releases, the .10, .11, .12, packs the power of a major release, tons of new capability that our users can leverage today. And the other theme is these features are available in a managed service by Yandex Cloud today. So let's talk about enterprise search. As we go from release to release to release, every time we've offered this new capabilities that make our users more successful. Things like pre-built content sources, one click, add the source to bring that data into your environment. An app crawler to be able to go out to the web and search your website to find challenges that might exist or find data that might be that live on the systems. We also constantly endeavor to make ourselves faster and more efficient because the faster we can make our Elasticsearch platform, the better the outcomes are for your end users. Precision tuning, and this is what really matters when you build a website that has to find, for example, red running shoes. If I said red running shoes and I got green shoes from your website, I might leave and go somewhere else. Precision tuning allows you a very simple way to really tailor the searches to only provide the relevant results to that end user. In our latest release, 7.14, all that power is built directly into Kibana. In the Elasticsearch platform, Kibana is our front end into the application. It is the place where our user experience lives, and all that power of enterprise search is now built directly into Kibana, so you don't need anything else to manage or operationalize that system. So what about all of our enterprise IT partners out there that have a challenge with understanding the problem I mentioned earlier, right? Keeping my system up and reliable. Well, the good news is, the Elasticsearch platform can perform business monitoring, and it can react to events that might happen anywhere in the environment. And how do we do that? Well, we call it observability. Observability is our solution built directly into the Elasticsearch platform. What observability enables customers to do is to really unify observing their entire digital ecosystem. Think about how you have to co-locate all these logs and metrics and traces across your environment of applications and infrastructure you might be monitoring. You want to unite them in a single place, a single powerful data store to eliminate the data silos and to unify the exploration and analysis to make decisions making smarter, faster, and root cause analysis more relevant. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to talk about a ton of power built into release by release. And guess what? It's all available right now in Yandex Cloud. So let's talk about observability. Back in 7.10, we released a great new capability called user experience monitoring. This is a proactive way to tie into your application and identify challenges that might exist before your users find them. A lot of times, site reliability engineers and IT operations users are reacting to problems, right? Something goes down, there's a red light, I need to go fix that. What user experience monitoring allows us to do is proactively monitor our own environment to act like a user and try to see if we can discover these problems before our users do. Because if our user runs into a challenge on the website, they might leave. If we can find it first, we maintain the success of that user in our application or on our website. We also updated the way we handle application performance monitoring, or APM, with a brand new interface that allows you to very simply identify the potential service that's at conflict. When we talk about observability, of course, you think about things like, is the system up, right? Is the CPU spiking? Do I have the right sufficient memory? Is the disk full? But you have to go far deeper than that to find the core problem, right? If I see a CPU that goes through the roof, what's causing that? APM allows us to identify the specific service or services that could be causing that potential challenges. So you can actually instrument these individual services and identify, that's the one that caused the problem. And then with our traces functionality, figure out what particular call caused that so you can fix that and bring that system back online. APM is really critical to identify these challenges and keep systems running. And it's available right in our observability solution. And even better than that, there's a thing Elastic we like to call power plays. So the Elastic Stack, the Elasticsearch Platform, has a bunch of power within it. We have things like visualizations through drag and drop interfaces that we call Lens. We have pre-built and custom dashboarding. We also have machine learning. Machine learning is built directly into the Elasticsearch Platform, and then our individual solutions leverage that machine learning to provide the use cases and outcomes that you need. Here's a great example. Again, in APM, or application performance monitoring, I could, for example, write a rule to say, okay, well, if this service hits more than 80% utilization, let me know, right? Notify me via email, notify me via Slack, something like that. But the challenge is, what if it's 79.9 and that's still a problem, right? Identifying what that right number is yourself to write a rule could be difficult. Machine learning comes in and actually learns in your organization what actually is normal, what's abnormal, and can automatically alert you when those abnormalities happen. So now you don't have to think about, is this actually bad for my environment? We can learn that for you automatically and then notify you where those challenges might exist. So we can, again, proactively identify challenges before you know they might be problems for your end users. Then, like you heard earlier in enterprise search, we are really fanatic about ensuring that this thing is fast and efficient for your environments. We always dive and spend extra time into performing the core data layer, speed, and reliability. So of course, here we've updated that. And then in the most recent release in 7.14, which is available right now in Yandex Cloud, we have a powerful new technology we call Elastic Agent. In the security piece in a second, I'm going to go much deeper on the agent. But what I get really excited about is that what we did, if you're familiar with Elastic before, is we had a phenomenal number of ways to collect data. We could use Logstash, which is like our Swiss Army knife to get information. We could use Beats, which are individual lightweight data shippers that you can go install to get data in the environment. But a core question we'd always get is, can you help me make it easier to manage and update these things at scale? Because they didn't have a central or underlying unified management layer. What Agent is Agent is a single installer. You install one thing on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and then right within the observability user's interface, you can adjust and modify what that agent collects with single checkboxes. You can easily add integration. You can easily configure that integration or change it on the fly centrally from Elastic. So now you can deploy these thousands or hundreds of thousands of things at scale and manage them from one place yourself with this new Elastic Agent. So we've talked about search, We've talked about observing, and now let's talk about protecting. And protecting is something that, of course, again, I'm very passionate about because it's where I come from. I came from I'm part of the security team here. And when you think about search for security, you might first say, like, how is search applicable to security? But I ask you to go back to just recent news that's happened. You look at these attacks that take place over and over again, and one of the common themes you hear is this word called dwell time. And what dwell time means is how long was the adversary in your environment before you found them? And depending on who you ask, what research paper you read, that could be on the order of a couple months, 60 to 90 days. And that means that someone's in your environment for about that length of time before you discover them. So do you have 60 to 90 days of history stored somewhere to go action and investigate to figure out what that person did? What about other attacks that might go back even further, right? We need all this data at our fingertips across a long period of time, far more so than other solutions might need, right? You don't need just a week of data. You need weeks and weeks and months and maybe even years of information. Search is how you dig through that data. Search is how you proactively identify threats that might have happened across that long history of information. And Elastic Security helps you do that. We help you do a few things: prevent, detect, and respond to threats. We integrate these core critical capabilities. The first you might have heard called SIEM, or Security Information and Event Manager. That's really about collecting all your data in one place, a common theme you probably hear here in Elastic. But then also, we talk about endpoint security, taking that Elastic agent, installing it across your host, and offering a preventative and a reactionary component that you can power directly from that single solution in order to provide that unified protection across your infrastructure. And again, like the other solutions I've talked about, you're going to see a lot of power built into each release. And I'm going to go a little more in depth here because this is a place that I'm really passionate about. And the first one is correlation. Correlation is such an important problem in security, of course, in many solutions, but security especially, because we always need to write these detections to say, if this happens and then that happens and then this thing happens, let me know. To find these advanced adversaries that are always trying to circumvent our detections. EQL, or the event query language, is a language that's built directly into Elasticsearch itself and allows us to write these very complex but simple to write correlations that can identify these problems right out of the box. And don't worry, if you don't want to write them, our team ships a huge amount of these things out of the box. In fact, we're at this point well over 500 plus rules. Many of them are correlation-based rules mapped to a common attack framework to identify threats that might exist in your environment. Then we started moving towards this unified agent. You heard me talk about it already with Elastic Agent, the most recent update here in Elastic 7.14. I'll talk more about this in a second. But let me talk about another threat, which is ransomware. In security, we used to really focus our efforts on enterprise. We would go to the enterprise users that had sort of the team size and the threat, landscape here, a threat vector, to say, hey, look, this is where you need to get the security, and we would go work with them. But unfortunately, the world is in a place now where everyone is worried about security, from at your house to your small business to even to your large enterprise. And nothing makes that more relevant today than ransomware. Ransomware is an unfortunate part of the world that is a thing that happens constantly now, where somebody's system gets infected or impacted, maybe their whole company gets infected or impacted. And we want to bring a way to stop this for our users. In Elastic, we have numerous layers of ransomware protection available for you or your users today, from the preventative side all the way up through the behavioral analysis on the host itself. And as you can see here in this picture, just a simple checkbox to turn this thing on. In 7.13, we added another capability. Brand new to Elastic is this idea of going and getting data when you need it. You've always thought about Elastic as the best place to store your data. And of course it is, right? Bring your data in and store it in Elastic, and then we can action it for you. But what if you weren't already getting that data, right? What if you did see, for example, an alert of a system that was infected, and you wanted to understand what users were logged in at the time? And you go, oh no, I wasn't collecting my user data. Now, how would I know? Well, enter OS Query. OS Query is this really powerful open source project that works on Mac, Windows, and Linux that allows you to reach back into a system on demand and pull back data that you might need into Elastic. What we've done is we've built in a manager for this directly into Elastic Agent, where you can, in one check, install that OS query, and then simply, as you can see here in the interface, run your queries and get the data back as you need it. So now you don't have to always be collecting that data. When you need it, you can reach back out to the environment and get that information. And finally, Elastic 714. This is one that I was really excited about. This is many years of work from our team to get to this point where we're able to talk about what we call limitless XDR. This is because, as I mentioned earlier with the observability piece, the launch of Elastic Agent. So XDR, one thing in security you can get used to is a lot of acronyms. There's a lot of like star DR, right? There's MDR and EDR and XDR. All XDR really means is detection and response, the D and the R, over all your data. The X stands for extended or many different sources. And what it's trying to articulate with that simple acronym is the fact that you have tons of data that's relevant to security today. You have your infrastructure logs. You have authentication, probably via third-party systems like your authentication providers. You have email. You have endpoint and network data. And somewhere you need to unify all that information and find threats that exist in it to be able to identify these problems for your users and your analysts. And that's what Elastic does for you today. We provide that XDR. And when we talk about limitless, what we mean there is the power of the Elasticsearch platform is a ton of power is built in out of the box for you, as we talked about already today. And you can go in behind the scenes and actually modify it to best fit your organization and your customers as well. So not only do we provide these one-click integrations, hundreds of rules, out-of-the-box use cases, but you also have the ability to modify and change that as you need to as well to meet your specific needs. And again, the great thing about the 714 release is not just what we delivered, but also the fact that it's all available in a managed service. Elasticsearch for a long time was delivered as a, sort of download and run it yourself capability, what we call self-managed. And the challenge with that is it imposes a need from you to find servers, stand it up, make sure it's, somebody has to be dedicated to keeping it up. We just talked about observability of the thing doing observability in the first place. And you have to pay for that as well, the infrastructure. And the cloud really offers such a relief for people that just need to solve the problem. When you want to solve a search problem or solve an observability problem or solve a security problem, but don't want to become an infrastructure vendor yourself, right? Use a managed service. And Yandex Cloud is that managed service for us that can offer all the benefits of managing Elasticsearch for you directly through their platform. If you want to learn more, please go to this link, dig in. We also have a booth where we can talk more about this later on, and you can see some more information about this. But I'm just super excited. I want to again say thank you. I'm excited to talk to you all. I'm in the U.S. on the East Coast, so greetings from a totally different time zone here. But hopefully you got excited about this. There's tons of power in Elastic. And what I want you to take away from the release by release momentum is that what you saw today, that's going to be irrelevant tomorrow because there'll be even more power in 715 and 716. We deliver so much value every release, and partners like Yandex Cloud are the ones that can bring you those newest capabilities when you need them. So again, I'm Mike Nikos from Elastic Security. Thank you so much for the time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Thanks.
Всем привет. У нас теперь сессия вопросов и ответов, и для того, чтобы помочь мне с ответами на вопросы, ко мне присоединился Григорий Отрепьев, руководитель команды solution-архитекторов Яндекс.Облака. И, собственно, давайте начнем с первого вопроса. Значит, вопрос задает Максим Зиналь. Максим, привет. Мы когда-то с Максимом вместе даже работали в одной известной компании. Значит, вопрос звучит так. Некоторые облачные провайдеры предпочли создать открытый форк Elasticsearch и самостоятельно развивать данное решение для своего облака. Яндекс.Облако пока продолжает сотрудничать с Elastic. Каковы причины этого решения и какие у нас планы?
Видимо, здесь речь идет про OpenSearch. Я бы выделил, наверное, несколько основных пунктов для нас в контексте сотрудничества именно с командой Elasticsearch. Первое, важно понимать, что мы предоставляем managed сервис. А managed сервис — это все-таки ответственность. Это SLA, за который мы отвечаем перед своими клиентами. И при всем моем большом уважении к той команде, которая делает и контрибьютит в OpenSearch, все-таки дистрибутив основного Elasticsearch более стабильный, меньшее количество багов, а это значит, что мы можем предоставить более качественный сервис. Вторая история — это функциональное наполнение и те самые фичи, о которых, собственно говоря, и рассказывал Майк в своем докладе. И это не только фичи, которые там есть в моменте в основной ветке Elasticsearch, еще, например, не появились в OpenSearch, а это, если посмотреть дальше на перспективу, это то, что будет происходить с этими фичами через год, через два и так далее. Потому что, по сути, это обозначает, что, скорее всего, либо по API эти две ветки будут расходиться, да, там, с течением времени, чем дальше, тем больше. Либо не очень понятно, за счет каких ресурсов и с какими гарантиями то комьюнити, которое стоит за OpenSearch, сможет эти фичи имплементировать, да, там, поддерживая совместимость с Elasticsearch. Ну и третья история, которая, опять же, я думаю, важна для нас, как для облачного сервис-провайдера, это тот факт, что рядом есть команда, причем сильная техническая команда, к которой мы можем обратиться в случае каких-то сложных кейсов, которые готовы нас там поддержать и вместе разобраться с какой-то проблемой. Надо сказать, что в самом начале представления ты говорил о том, что там, я здесь присутствую в качестве там, помощника в секции ответов на вопросы, а я думаю, что я делаю еще одну очень важную задачу. Я не даю твоей личности раздвоиться, потому что если бы ты здесь сидел один, то ты бы задавал вопрос, отвечал на вопрос, да, клал бы планшет, перебегал, а здесь как-то все поорганичнее. Но, извини, пожалуйста, давай вернемся к вопросу.
Я хотел как раз дополнить эту идею. Если кто-то читал последнюю книжку Пелевина «Трансгуманизм», там был такой персонаж, зеркальный секретарь. Вот если кто-то прочитает и вспомнит, что Гриша сейчас работает зеркальным секретарем архитекторов из Elastic, отвечая как бы своим голосом на те вопросы, которые они нам, соответственно, передали в чате. Гриш, а еще на самом деле частый вопрос от меня, не из трансляции, ну так как мы запустили и анонсировали сегодня клауд-логинг, а Elastic это, в общем-то, тоже про логи, про search в этих логах, то, ну, как бы у любого клиента, который видит и то, и вроде это про одно и то же, возникает вопрос, а что, собственно, использовать и зачем клауд-логинг, если есть Elastic, или наоборот, зачем платить за Elastic, если есть клауд-логинг?
Слушай, хороший вопрос, потому что я его вот буквально сегодня тоже уже несколько раз слышал. Причем вот здесь вот в разговорах, в том числе и с другими спикерами. Смотри, он может быть немножко философский, но вот давай сначала попробуем посмотреть на какие-то другие сервисы. Да, вот у нас есть какой-то там веб-сервис, приложение. Да, в качестве рантайма мы же можем с тобой использовать Compute Cloud, мы можем использовать инстанс-группы, а мы можем использовать, например, тот же Managed Kubernetes. Обозначает ли, что они в каком-то плане конкурируют? Ну, наверное, да. Но при этом это же дает и возможность пользователю выбрать из этих опций та, которая больше подходит под его задачу, под компетенции команды. И когда мы говорим о сравнении Cloud Logging и Managed Elasticsearch, мы на самом деле оперируем теми же понятиями, потому что все-таки, на мой взгляд, Elasticsearch имеет широкий набор сценариев, да, и появляются все время новые. И это там, опять же, хорошо проиллюстрировано в рассказе Майка. Cloud Logging — это сейчас более такой, наверное, точечный, там, где-то, может быть, там, узконаправленный функционал. Это с одной стороны. А с другой стороны, опять же, давая возможность команде клиента выбрать, с чем им удобнее работать, мы же делаем лучше для того же самого клиента. Ну, например, есть команда там DevOps-инженеров, которые имеют опыт работы с Elastic. Ну так и здорово, они могут продолжать с ним работать. Или наоборот, да, там, когда там есть равенство ситуации в плане знания, да, там, того или иного продукта, кто-то стартанет с клауд-логингом.
Ну, на самом деле у нас такая ситуация не только с клауд-логингом vs Elastic, есть и другие сервисы, которые на самом деле друг другу могут, так сказать, конкурировать. Вот сегодня рассказывали про YDS, Yandex Data Streams, у нас есть Kafka, и они прекрасно живут параллельно. Если хотите, используйте Kafka, если хотите там сэкономить, используйте YDS. И на самом деле у нас нет такого, что мы вообще все, так сказать, на один продукт ставим, и вот здесь, наверное, такая же история. Есть еще вопрос, не знаю, я могу сам на него ответить, если хочешь ответить ты. Будет ли доступно проксирование кибана из коробки в Managed Elastic? Тут, на самом деле, вопрос пояснения в том, что стоит, что если у нашего сервиса Elastic нет публичного адреса, то попасть в кибану ты не можешь. Вот. Ну, наверное, давай, ладно, отвечу я. Вот, поработаю я зеркальным секретарем. Значит, действительно есть такая проблема. Если ваш кластер Elastic не имеет публичного IP-адреса, то либо вы, ну, там, организуете как-то VPN в облако и заходите там, по серым адресам, либо, ну, в общем, действительно есть там некоторые сложности в доступе к кибане, если вы как бы не хотите каким-то другим образом, там, типа интерконнект, либо VPN, получить доступ в облако. Соответственно, мы в течение следующих нескольких месяцев или в начале следующего года, наверное, починим. В принципе, у нас уже есть опыт реализации таких штуковин. Для того же дата-прока, Hadoop, есть такая штука UI-прокси. Там тоже мы Hadoop наружу не выставляем, не даем ему, так сказать, доступ, возможность создавать белые айпишники, потому что очень много внутри частей, которые потенциально могут быть компрометированы. И поэтому там есть такая штука UI-прокси. Что-то похожее мы, наверное, реализуем и в Elastic. Так, в целом, кажется, вопросов у нас больше нет. А жаль, потому что коллеги из Elastic у нас на связи, и, в принципе, можно было задавать вопросы и про roadmap, и про все остальное. Раз нет, я думаю, что все равно, так сказать, несмотря на то, что конференция наша потихонечку заканчивается, мы-то все остаемся, и есть чаты, и сообщество Яндекс.Облака, и, соответственно, мы всегда на связи. Я бы хотел анонсировать следующий доклад. Наш, собственно, трек дата-платформа заканчивается, а финальным докладом будет Яндекс.Трекер как инструмент для множества процессов. Так что дождитесь, пожалуйста, он начнется очень скоро. А я с вами прощаюсь. Спасибо и надеюсь, было интересно.